non-custodial sentence for aspects of the bill. Suffice to state that, in principle, I am with them on the objects of the bill, and materially, major part of the bill, we are adding them on same. Mr. Speaker, I have accordingly followed up, engaged the minority leader, because yesterday the minority front bench indicated that any such engagement with the sponsors must first start with the leave of the leadership, which I felt it was right. I did indicate to him that I would write formally to him to inform him of the steps I intend taking. I also spoke to the minority chief whip and few of the sponsors. Mr. Speaker, I have since delivered the letter to the minority leader's office. Delivered to your good office the original of communication to you, indicating the steps I believe if we take as a house, we will be able to deal with these minor parts of the bill. Again, Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General is also in receipt of my letter, and basically I have indicated that it will be proper for him to sit with us, especially as the non-custodial sentencing regime being introduced by them is founded in my amendment. It's better we have a fuller perspective. Mr. Speaker, I need to emphasize respectfully that no attempt whatsoever is being made by me to stall this all-important bill. By way of emphasis, I have proposed in the letter that the two flag bearers for the 2024 elections be engaged by the sponsors and my good.
Parliament Alban Bagbin has issued a cryptic message directed at Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Kwabena Afenyo-Markin regarding the anti-LGBTQ+ bill. Well, the Speaker of Parliament had a message for him, urging him to match his words with his actions.
Action by me. Yesterday, I did indicate on the floor that I intend.
You are taking advantage of my grace by abusing the practice and procedure of this House. There must always be a rule to go by. We are not at the referral of the bill to a committee for consideration. We passed that. We've done the second reading, gone through all the principles and policies. We've done the consideration stage. Now, you called on the House to do second consideration stage on some clauses of the bill. We now cannot go back to stakeholder engagements and all those things. There is no such rule in our practice. So you are completely out of order. Please, actions speak louder than words. Take note of that. Actions speak louder than words. It's not a matter of just getting out and saying, I'm not opposed to the bill. I'm in complete support of the bill. Meanwhile, your actions are speaking differently from the words you are using. Please, this House must continue to consider and do what it is authorized to do. After that, anybody else can decide on what to do. I can no longer extend this grace for a delay in the process.
Majority Leader in Parliament, Alexander Afeyomakin, has withdrawn his proposed amendment to the bill on the promotion of proper human sexual rights and the Ghanaian family values. Well, this comes after the House voted against two of the proposals which demanded a replacement of imprisonment with community service for persons found capable of the LGBTQ+ activities.
That application having been refused, although, Mr. Speaker, we are the masters of our own rules, and under the rule of winnowing, we, at consideration, we may apply. I take it that the application has been refused, and I had proposed this on the grounds that it was a new thing that was coming, and I felt that we could winnow and have further discussion, and the records of this House would bear me out that I had actually indicated that colleagues have also said they would be happy we look at it together. And that was the step I was taking, and it was so in good faith. Mr. Speaker, I want the record to reflect. I was doing so in good faith. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I respect your ruling, and I proceed to move the clause 6. Mr. Speaker, that sub-clause 2, line 5, you delete the existing provisions and insert community service of not less than 3 months and not more than 5 months. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
That he is a trained lawyer, that in law there is a significant difference between a felony and a misdemeanor. And the words of the sponsors of clause 6 is the use of the word misdemeanor, which he wants to substitute. Misdemeanor ordinarily will mean not a serious crime by any definition. Not a serious crime. So, Mr. Speaker, Parliament is not even asking that this be elevated to a felony, but a misdemeanor. Therefore, he is completely out of place wanting to reduce this to community service. This is the barest minimum that this House can do to preserve our values as a people.
A majority leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, has voluntarily resigned from his role with immediate effect. A decision revealed a crucial meeting of the majority group Wednesday evening. Well, the meeting held at the Jubilee House Banquet Hall in Accra was heavily guarded and conveyed by the President Nana Akufo-Addo. Osei Mensah Bonsu's decision to step down marks a pivotal moment in Ghanaian parliamentary politics, where it opens up the way for the party and a caucus to formalize the leadership changes that will be contemplated.
Primary education, and so that is done not as part of the mainstream education system. But we in Ghana since 2008 have mainstream pre-primary education, and since then have repositioned it. Right to age enrollment campaign was done.
Majority Leader, please, why didn't you take your seat? Why didn't Leader? Why didn't you take your seat? You took another seat today. Leader, can you confirm officially that you told the President that you had resigned? Leader, can you tell Join you something that you were resigned officially? And what is in the works now?
I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Leader.
You just want to get confirmation.
Well, following the resignation of Osei Mensah Bonsu, Alexander Afeyomakin, a deputy majority leader and MP for Efutu, has been designated as a newly majority leader. Or Patricia PJ, the MP for Asokwa, will serve as his deputy, and Frank Anodompre, the MP for Nsawoma Dwejui, will remain the chief whip. Osei Mensah Bonsu, Ghana's longest-serving lawmaker, formally announced his resignation during a crucial meeting at the presidency in Accra on Wednesday.
Meeting tonight with His Excellency the President on this matter, a crisis meeting to deal with it. So, Mr. Speaker, it is no longer just a rumor that can be ignored. It is important for the cohesion of
he decided to stand down. It's big. He has been a fantastic leader, an extremely hard-working person, and I would have wished that he stayed on till the end.
What do you think got him to do this? Because it came as a surprise to many, I'm sure, including you. So did it come to you as a surprise?
Yes, it did. But as to what got to him, I'm sure we better let him explain.
What will happen moving forward? Today he was in the chamber, initially he didn't sit on his chair. It means the changes have taken effect.
Well, once he stood down, it means he's no longer the majority leader. But as to whether any change has happened or not, I don't have any information. I'm not aware that any person has been either nominated or discussed or chosen by their side.
There's a name out there, and that's Alexander Kwame Martin, the first name that got us into this story in the first place. That name is still there. How's it come on?
Well, I saw that name before the weekend came, but at that time,
And away from Parliament, the average rate of unemployment in the country has risen to 14.7% in the first 3 quarters of 2023, while the number of unemployed youths aged between 15 and 35 rose from about 1.2 million to over 1.3 million during the same period, with the rate among female consistently higher than male. Well, this according to the record source from the annual Household Income and Expenditure Survey, Quarter 3 Labour Bulletin by the Ghana Statistical Service.
So in terms of what we've done, as I indicated, this is a quarterly panel survey. It's nationally representative, regionally representative, and also the representative for our urban rural classification. The basis, the sampling frame for the 10,800 that we got.
The majority caucus and for the smooth work of Parliament, because
promote with this is localization of the data in our country.
From the 2021 population and housing census. Let's keep in mind, let's leave here with not the population of Ghana, which is in excess of 31 million persons, but the population of only those 15 years and older, which is around 19 million. That is the denominator for the conversation. And also the reference period for this conversation is 7 days preceding the day of the interview. So questions around unemployment, we asked, in the last 7 days, did you work? So that is the reference period for the conversation. We have been successful in maintaining a good response rate across the last 4 quarters, that is from the last quarter of 2022 to the 3rd quarter of 2023. We started replacement in the 3rd quarter of 2023. That is why you see the number of households increasing between the 2nd quarter of 2023 and the 3rd quarter of 2023. So as I indicated, the findings are put into 3 broad categories. I'm going to start with the findings on the labor force characteristics. So the first thing we share with you is, think about the constituents of the labor force status. We distinguish between the constituents of the labor force status and the labor force. The labor force, as we indicated, consists of the 2 of the statuses, that is employed and unemployed. The labor force status consists of 3 categories: the employed, unemployed, and those outside the labor force, but 15 years and older. So across the last 7 quarters, that is between the 1st quarter of 2022 and the 3rd quarter of 2023, we see that we have reduce the persons outside the labor force from 4.95 million to 4.51 million persons. Because this is a set, once people are leaving the labor, are moving out of outside the labor force, they should find their way in either the employment status or the unemployment status. So the 440 persons that in the first 3 quarters of 2023 exited the outside the labor force, over 60% of them, precisely about 250,000 of them, went into the employed status, and the remaining into the unemployed status. So from these 3 constituents' point of view, we see a reduction in outside the labor force of persons, approximately 440,000 persons, and because this is a set of 3 categories of people, you need to find.
And government is working to ensure all its external data in other countries is hosted locally here in Ghana. Well, this is to reduce the cost of operations and to promote growth in the digital space. Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Ursula Owusu Ekufo, made disclosure after addressing a validation workshop on the data center and cloud regulations here in Accra. According to the minister, this framework will lead to promoting the country to become the preferred choice for hosting African data.
We produce that data. It must be stored here. We don't have anything against the Amazon cloud services and the big cloud service operators. It's fine. Let them come and build data centers here and host Africa's data on the continent, because it's expensive and we're paying twice to host the data on other cloud services, pay for the management of that data and pay to retrieve it for our use. It doesn't make.
The National Association of Institutional Suppliers has scheduled March 4, 2024 to picket at the Ministry of Education. The decision stems from the persistent neglect demonstrated by the ministry in awarding them contracts and settling outstanding debt owned by its members, who collectively exceed 100 million Ghana cedi. While addressing the media, the group's spokesperson Emmanuel Aibo indicated their resolution to explore all available avenues to ensure their demands are be met.
Yanya shirt mienu, trouser bako, nika bako, 130 Ghana cedis. The material was barbaric. Biana muntiasie. Yanya material. Yamuto material no. Niempa, ento wekesika, ento light, enfaka. Yan from the ministries. No muntie tax 3%. No my 130 Ghana cedis. Yanya magicians. No. And again, you pay a house dress. Let's go out. House dress, 2 pairs for 100 Ghana cedis. House dress, a customized print. Yeah. In the Papu say, 50 Ghana cedis. 50 o material kahon. Ajmani ka kahon, ahoma kahon, zip kahon, light kahon, car for kahon. Or you have 3% tax. Every sir, 50 Ghana cedis num. All the money. And we ask ourselves, is it an attempt to collapse our business or an oversight? And I say a type of error. I made my.
And the Juripa Area Youth Association has condemned the killing of Mr. Eric Johnson, Chief Executive Officer of the Royal Caci Hills Hotel in the Upper West Region on Sunday, February 11, 2024. Well, the association in the statement called on the Ghana Police Service and all security agencies to expedite action to conclude the investigations as a matter of urgency. Mr. Eric Johnson, lifeless body, was found in a pool of blood in his room on the hotel premises, according to a police statement that was released earlier.
The investigation and bring the perpetrators to justice. The youth are one The youth are on standby and are ready to support in whatever ways is deemed necessary. We also call on the elders and the Tendama to intervene. The youth of the Jirapa municipality want to affirm our trust and support for the ongoing investigations. Again, we pledge to stay calm and urge people, especially our friends from the media, to stop the speculations.
An electoral commission has disclosed that it will release the electoral calendar for this year's general elections before the end of February 2024. Well, this comes after Deputy Electoral Commission Chairman in charge of Corporate Services, Dr. Bosman Asari, hinted earlier this week that this year's election will not be moved from December 7 to November. In January this year, the Seventh-day Adventist Church proposed an amendment to December 7 date for the general election, sparkling a public debate.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask the Electoral Commission that in light of the upcoming election, which is barely 9 months away, I want to ask the EC when it would disclose the electoral calendar.
Mr. Chairman, we will certainly do it before the end of this month.
And in business, the Bank of Ghana has signed a memorandum of understanding with Developmental Bank Ghana to commission a study on innovative financing for micro, small and medium enterprises in Ghana. Speaking at the ceremony, First Deputy Governor Dr. Masolo Poku-Afari said, though price stability remains the central bank's primary mandate under the inflation targeting framework, economic growth through credit expansion is also a key concern, a reason why a major consideration is being given to the impact of policies on the real sector.
It remains our primary mandate under the inflation targeting framework. Economic growth through credit expansion is also key concern to us, and that is why a major consideration is given to the impact of our policies on the real sector. For instance, much of the reforms that have been initiated within the banking sector in Ghana have been geared towards creating sound, stable, well-capitalized and profitable institutions capable of supporting the real sector and economic growth through increased lending. I am extremely excited that one of the key objectives of this project is to explore which fintech innovations work and how they can be scaled up to ensure growth of MSMEs. My excitement stems from the fact that innovations through fintech remain top on the agenda for the Bank of Ghana, and that is why a lot has gone into developing the regulatory framework and providing the conducive environment for innovation by players. Results from this study will inform us, the regulator, on other ways in which fintechs can be used to channel resources from surplus spending to deficit financing units in the economy, especially MS.
Now let's do some